Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was tsunade and jiraiya experiment, and suddenly girls find him very attractive part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Tsunade Obachan. How are? Naruto was punched into the wall, bursting through it before he could finish his greeting. The punch was delivered by an enraged Hokage who yelled, "Stop calling me old." Tsunade took a deep breath and sat back down. Now, I summoned you guys here today to give you a mission. This mission, she was interrupted by a loud shout of, "Yay! New mission!" yelled by Naruto, who somehow recovered from the punch through a brick wall with only a small lump on his head. He started jumping up and down saying, "What's it we're doing? Protecting feral lords? Or rescuing princesses? Or fighting Kree?" He smashed through the wall a second time, this time hit by Sakura, who yelled, "Shut up and listen to Tsunade-sama," through the second Naruto-shaped hole. Tsunade cleared her throat loudly. "As I was saying, you are receiving a mission to collect some scrolls from the hidden sand village. Kakashi will not come with you this time because he received another mission earlier but hasn't returned yet. He had to go find a cat who escaped from its owner again. He should have come back a few days ago, which is confusing me. Surely the copy ninja Sharingan Kakashi can't be defeated by a mere cat. Could it be that Kakashi-sensei was attacked by other ninja during the mission?" asked Naruto, who had just climbed back through the hole with a new lump on his head, making him look like a teddy bear. "Nah, Kakashi doesn't have many enemies, mainly because only very few of his foes have lived after engaging him. Yeah, maybe Sensei's just late because he's at some perverted bookstore reading that stupid book he always has in front of his nose," said Sakura. The others nodded in agreement. Somewhere in a far village, Kakashi sneezed. It caused the card castle in front of him to crumble. "Ha," said a large man with a long gray robe on. "You lost the bet. That castle of yours barely lasted 4 minutes, and you say it can hold for an hour. Now you have to be my personal servant for a month before I give you the cat back." Kakashi closed his uncovered eye and thought hard, "If I stay for a month, I'll miss the second Ica Ica Paradise movie. If I escape, I'll fail the mission and lose my honor at the same time. Which should I choose? Ica Ica Paradise or my honor as a shinobi?" He made up his mind quite quickly. He opened his eye and spoke to the man. "I'm sorry but I cannot miss the second Ica Ica Paradise movie, so I'm afraid that I'll have to escape." He prepared to leave, but then he saw the wide grin on the man's face. "I knew you would try to worm your way out if you lost, so I took away your books while you were busy building the card castle." "What?" Kakashi grabbed his bag and turned it upside down. Lots of kunai, food and an assortment of other things came out, but one vital thing was missing. "No. My special edition of Ica Ica Paradise Part 8, The Power of Porn, is gone." He turned towards the man slowly in fury, uncovering his right eye in the process. "You have taken my Ica Ica Paradise Part 8, The Power of Porn, and now I will kill you," he said coldly and started going through hand seals. "Chidori!" he screamed as his right hand glowed from the power of the chakra focused in it. He started to charge at the man, who stumbled backwards in fear. The man quickly took a TV remote from the table and turned the set in the room on. He pointed at the small television while he stuttered. "Wait, if I die, then your book is destroyed also." The TV showed Kakashi's book hanging over a large cooking pot which was filled with acid-like liquid. Kakashi's eyes widened as a mouse tied to a fishing rod-like bait was lowered into the pot. There was a loud hissing noise and the mouse was pulled back up, or at least what was remained of it. Only the bones of the mouse were still hanging to the fishing line and it was still melting. A second later the fishing line snapped and the bones fell back into the pot, bobbing on the surface for a second or two before dissolving completely. "See," said the man in triumph as he saw the look of pure terror on what he could see of Kakashi's face. "If you don't listen to me, your book will join that mouse in the afterlife. He pressed a button on the remote to emphasize his point. Kakashi's beloved book started to slowly inch toward the pot of doom. Kakashi slammed his face into the television screen, desperate to reach his book while begging. Please, don't hurt my book. I'll do anything. Stop, stop, stop. He banged his head on the screen with each stop. The man grinned evilly. All right, he said as he pressed another button on his TV remote control of doom, the way Kakashi will refer it to during his month's stay, and Ika Ika Paradise Part 8, The Power of Porn, rose back up a little, away from the cooking pot of doom. Now, you will work as my servant for a month and then I'll let you leave. If you behave like a good boy and do as you're told, I'll give you back your precious book and the cat you were looking for in the first place. But if you do not do as you are told, my hand might slip. He tapped a button on his TV remote control of doom, causing Kakashi's yellow book to drop an inch, nearing the cooking pot of doom, which caused Kakashi to tremble with fear. And your book will never be seen ever again, and when I say never, I mean never. Do I make myself clear? Kakashi nodded shakily. Good. You will get up at 6 every day with my other servants to eat breakfast, then you will start the morning cleaning. You will clean all of the rooms on the first and second floor with some of my other servants, and then you will have lunch after you finish polishing the medals in the trophy room. You will then hang the cleaned laundry up in the first garden for them to dry. Bring them back into the mansion when they are dry or when it is about to rain. Then you will have a half-hour break before going to the stable to feed and wash the horses. Then you will return to the house to have supper. After that you will chain yourself to a tree until midnight as a punishment for cracking my TV with your head. Any questions? Still shaking, Kakashi shook his head. Good. You will start work tomorrow. And remember, any funny business, anything at all, and I will rip the pages out of your book one by one and then burn them in front of your face through the TV. Now follow Yuki here to your room. A typical servant girl appeared in the doorway and motioned for Kakashi to follow. Kakashi followed the girl silently. I would have to make a plan to save my book, then I'll find whoever made me sneeze and torture them for endangering the meaning of my existence, thought Kakashi. He shuddered as he heard the evil laughter coming from the man who had just defeated the copy ninja Kakashi with a TV remote control and a cooking pot, wincing as his imagination showed him terrible scenes of his precious book being destroyed in inhuman ways. Whoever put me and my book in this situation will wish that they were never born. He started clenching and unclenching his fist as if itching to grab hold of the culprit's neck for endangering his book. Back with the rest of Team 7 at Hokage's tower. Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke and Tsunade sneezed at the exact moment. Somehow I have a bad feeling about this, said Sasuke, speaking for the first time in the meeting. I agree, Sasuke-kun, but you'll protect me no matter what, like the time with Gaara, right, Sasuke-kun? No, I will not, and for the last time it was the dope who saved you from Gaara, said Sasuke, his fists tightening as he remembered how Naruto had showed incredible strength and defeated Gaara even when he turned into the one-tailed raccoon demon, when he had been merely defeated at the start, when Gaara wasn't using 1/10 of his power. Flashback. Naruto must have gone mad, thought Sasuke as he saw Naruto trying to get to Gaara even when he's being flung around like a ragged doll, trying to protect the small toad he summoned earlier. Then Gaara pissed Naruto off with words and Naruto blasted Gaara's backside with the combination of an explosive note wrapped around the handle of a kunai. Sasuke caught Naruto before he fell of the tree and teased Naruto about getting beaten up so much only to land a one-hit on Gaara, but was impressed against his will because Chidori barely harmed Gaara, but Naruto's spoke was with no doubt very effective, seeing Gaara couldn't recover immediately. Sasuke took the chance to try to save his face by telling Naruto to release Sakura from the sand bind and then escape while he hold Gaara off. But then Naruto said he understood something and told Sasuke to rest before summoning a huge amount of chakra. Sasuke, Temari, Gamakichi, name of frog Naruto saved earlier, and Pakun, Kakashi's nin dog who helped Naruto. Sakura and Shikamaru track Sasuke and Gaara, watched as Naruto created about 2,000 shadow clones and pounded Gaara into a pulp. Then Gaara did something only kids see in stupid Superman TV shows. Gaara turned huge, very huge, about the size of a small mountain. Sasuke thought Naruto was doomed when he saw sand wrap itself around Naruto, unable to assist his teammate because of the pain of the cursed seal on his shoulder. Then he was shocked again when Naruto summoned a huge toad, about the same size as the demon they're facing. After a fierce battle, which was like being in the middle of a typhoon and a tsunami combined, Naruto shattered Gaara's raccoon form. They fell down towards the earth and landed in some branches. With one last attack, Naruto punched Gaara in the face and they both hit the ground. Sasuke knew it was over because the sand binding Sakura lost effect. Sasuke caught her before she hit the ground and went to find Naruto. He found the blonde still trying to get to Gaara with his chin, and fell unconscious after hearing the news of Sakura's safety. Gaara's siblings retrieved their brother and left after Gaara told them that he didn't want to fight anymore. He still remembered the smile on Naruto's face. Not the wide grin that didn't reach his eyes, but a peaceful look, one that he had never seen before. End flashback. Sasuke gritted his teeth. Naruto didn't win by luck, as Sakura kept telling everyone. She only says that because she didn't see the whole battle, having passed out at the start. Naruto was stronger than him, and if he can't even beat Naruto, he'll never be able to kill Itachi. Looks like I'll have to triple the training for now, he thought. He was thinking so hard that he didn't realize the meeting was over and that everyone was looking at him, with Naruto saying that Sasuke was probably scared of cactuses or something, which caused Sakura to punch the dope through another wall, this time falling out of the 3-story building. Tsunade spoke to Sasuke while Sakura was yelling at Naruto through the second Naruto-shaped hole. While you were spacing out, I have told Naruto and Sakura that you will meet your temporary sensei while Kakashi's not here at the north gate at 7 o'clock sharp. And, she turned to Sakura, you're going to pay for those holes you made, Sakura, unless Naruto is willing to do, I'll pay for it. Said Naruto, who climbed back through the hole and continued. I'll do anything for Sakura-chan. He said as he took out his Gama-chan, the name of his wallet, and emptied most of its contents on the Sanin's desk. The cuckoo clock on the wall signaled 6 o'clock and Naruto's stomach growled at exactly the same time. I'm going to get some ramen for dinner, see you guys later. With that he ran off, leaving his teammates with a very pissed off Tsunade. The brat needs a lesson on manners, grumbled Tsunade as she took out a bottle of sake. Taking a swig, she motioned for Sasuke and Sakura to leave, which they happily complied, feeling a scary aura around their Hokage. Somewhere outside, in a small alley on the way to the ramen stand, Naruto's mind was filled with ramen. Too busy with the food in his mind as he ran, he accidentally bumped into a woman, making her drop the bags she's carrying. Sorry, said Naruto quickly as he helped her up and pick up her bags for her. Then he saw the contents of one of the bags still on the floor. Hey miss, where do you buy this shampoo? He asked, picking one up and looking at it. The woman looked at him with questioning eyes, as if she thought he was joking or something. Why do you ask? She said. Well, Naruto began while scratching the back of his head. The shampoo I use at home was brought from the Wave Country. I've used it up and very few people are willing to sell me stuff here because of special reasons. Did you have control over the special reasons? She asked politely. Naruto was surprised. Most people whom he talks to ignore, glare and chuck stuff at him. She must be from another country, he thought. Well, apart from killing myself, I can't do anything about it. He said it with a wide grin on his face. I have a friend who smiles like you do and hides behind it, so I've learned to read the eyes for emotions. You are sad at this moment. You want affection but are afraid to reach out for it properly. Naruto tried to deny it, but deep down he knew it was true. He was trying to think of something to say when the woman spoke again. I can help you here. She gave him a bottle of liquid. She seemed to look behind him for a moment before saying, "Drink it and you will feel better tomorrow. And also keep the shampoo, I don't need any more anyway." With that she walked away, waving goodbye to him. "See you around, Naruto," she said before turning a corner. Naruto walked away after a while, still confused on why someone saw through his mask so easily. "That's because she's one of the few who truly cares for others, Kit. Even though she just met you, she already treats you with kindness. Trust me on this one, I can sense it. I didn't ask your opinion, you foxy. Go back to sleep." "Sure. But drink that stuff she gave you. You sure it's safe?" thought Naruto. "If someone who cares for you poisons you, then you don't have much to live for anyway," replied the demon before falling asleep again. Naruto sighed and started back to his crappy apartment, forgetting about dinner completely. 5 minutes later he opened his door and put down the bag of shampoo on a chair. Deciding to try the new stuff out, he decided to take a shower before going to bed. Naruto finished his shower quickly and flopped onto his bed. He grabbed the bottle the woman gave him and downed the contents, feeling the cool liquid sliding down his throat. He immediately felt drowsy and the last that came to his head was, how did she know my name? Before sleep took him to La La Land. Somewhere outside the village. The same woman Naruto met earlier walked up to a large man with long white hair who was sitting at a bench near a large tree where the whole village could be seen. "Are you sure that he'll be okay with the experiment of yours?" she asked the man. "Course he will. He'll get lots of the attention he wants, and if it causes trouble, call it revenge for knocking me out of the tree I was researching near the bathhouse and almost killing me," he said, wincing at the memory of his poor self being pummeled by a riot of women. "I know very well that you were peeping on women, not researching the trees, you pervert," she said icily. The white-haired man grinned. "That's where you're wrong, I'm not a pervert," he said. The woman looked a bit angry. "If you're not a pervert, what are you, a saint?" "No," the man said. "I am." He paused dramatically, closing his eyes and posing. "I am." He opened his eyes suddenly. "I am a super pervert," he shouted to the night while pointing at a random direction guy style. The woman's sweat dropped and her eyes started twitching. "And you lectured me about the 3 forbidden things of shinobi yesterday. You get drunk a lot, you waste money, and now I confirmed that you are an old fart who is a pervert, but unless I am mistaken, you are still single. Shame on you, pervert. Anyway, keep an eye on Naruto for me, will you? I'm leaving for a while to check on someone." She turned to look at the man, only to see him crouched under a tree looking depressed, poking the tree while muttering, still a virgin, sighing. The woman left Jiraiya to brood about his failed love life. At Naruto's crappy apartment, chirping birds which always seem to like annoying sleeping people who are lazy. This morning, Naruto fell victim to the chirping sound and got up sleepily, before falling off the bed with an, ouch. He checked his clock, which was hanging on the shabby wall of his tiny apartment. It read 6 a.m. The blonde lazily got out a cup of instant ramen from under his bed and went to the bathroom with a kettle. He turned on the tap of the shower and poured some into the kettle. He went back to his only other room. Yes, Naruto's crappy apartment only has one room and a bathroom. And stuck the plug of the kettle into the only energy source apart from the light bulb hanging on a line up on the cracked ceiling. He yawned loudly and soon the kettle started to whistle, signaling that the water was ready. He pulled back the paper between him and his meal and poured some water into the cup. The ramen-addicted boy waited for an agonizing 3 minutes and then started to eat his most favorite food in the world. After he finished all of it, he disposed of the rubbish, which was to the back of his bed, and then checked the clock again. It read 6 a.m. "That's strange," muttered Naruto. "Last time I checked it was a look which rivaled Kakashi's when he saw his book over the cooking pot of doom through the TV of doom appeared on the dope's face when he realized what had happened. The clock had stopped working. Crap. I'll be late for the meeting, cried Naruto as he flopped down on his stomach and grabbed his orange jumpsuit from under his bed. Naruto doesn't have a cupboard, so he stuffs most of his things under his bed, including an infamous yellow book which has an R on the back and some blood on the pages which were caused by the nosebleeds of a growing boy. And pulled it on, zipping it up. He tied his forehead protector around his head carelessly, he'll regret that later, and dashed out of his door grabbing his kunai holster in the process. He locked his door and almost flew towards the direction of the north gate. In the streets of Konoha, Tenten was bored. She was bored of watching Lee punching logs, bored of Neji ignoring her, and bored of Guy Sensei's talks of youth. So the weapons specialist sneaked away from the training ground and went for a walk 30 minutes ago. Now she is in the street wandering around aimlessly, still so bored that she considered going back to listen to her sensei's endless crap. She was about to head back towards the training ground to her doom when she caught a whiff of sweet scent. But before she could identify the source of the nice smell, an orange blur knocked into her at high speed, sending them both tumbling down a small alleyway. Luckily for them, there were some fluffy blankets stacked in the space, so the two landed onto the blankets unharmed. But unfortunately, for them, they got tangled into the blankets, and after struggling for a while, the female finally broke free and tumbled onto the ground. Tenten looked at the boy still stuck inside the torn blankets, the reason they were dumped in the alleyway in the first place. His head was still stuck inside the blankets, so she couldn't see his face, but the orange jumpsuit seemed oddly familiar. Naruto, is that you? Asked the weapon girl. Yes, it's me, said Naruto, still struggling to get out from the pile of sheets which imprisoned him. Tenten sighed. Still as stupid as ever. And two, huh? Where did the hell did that come from? She shook her head, blushing, trying to rid her mind of a sudden image of Naruto grabbing her forcefully, pushing her onto a bed, and she hit herself on the head with a big pink rubber hammer to stop her mind from going further in her sudden perverted thoughts. She took out a kunai and started hacking at the blanket that Naruto was entangled in. A few seconds later, Naruto was freed and sitting on the floor. What were you thinking running so fast? She asked, still a bit red in the face, crossing her arms, standing over Naruto. Darn, I've been around Neji too much, I think he is starting to rub off on me, wish Naruto would start rubbing me though. Ah, stop thinking about stuff like that, she thought, cringing in an effort to not think about Naruto, which was hard considering she did like him in a way since he beat Neji in the Chunin exams way back. Sorry, I was late for a meeting with my tea, he said, standing up, but couldn't finish because his leg snagged the huge pile of blankets and he fell onto Tenten, pushing her to the ground and dragging a huge pile of mangled blankets onto the two of them. Tenten groaned at the sudden weight placed on her. Get off me, Naruto, yelled Tenten angrily, but inside her heart was racing. A boy's on top of me, and he's so cute. I want to kiss that cute face. She breathed in the sweet smell of Naruto's hair, making her slightly lightheaded, but before she could form some kind of plan girls do when in a situation where a cute guy is on top of you with his body pressed into you, Naruto started squirming, trying to get the blankets off him and Tenten. He tried to hoist himself on his elbows, but only succeeded in grinding his body against Tenten. Tenten blushed at the sudden feeling of Naruto's well-toned body grinding against her maid, and a loud escaped her mouth when Naruto's leg rubbed against a very sensitive area. She unconsciously started rubbing herself against Naruto's of pleasure coming out of her mouth, her body suddenly begging for more contact. Naruto is so warm, huh? Warm. He is not warm, but so warm, ah. I'm getting horny over a blonde idiot. I don't even love him, she thought, but stopped when Naruto's soft cheek brushed against hers, making her blush. Oh crap, I think I'm gonna fall in love. Naruto heard the ing the turned-on girl was making and moved even quicker while blushing because Tenten's sweet voice and the feeling of her body rubbing against him was turning him on, and he needed to get to the north gate as soon as possible or Sakura will literally try to kill him for being late like Kakashi. But unfortunately for him, the faster he moved, trying to shift the blankets of the two of them, the more pleasure Tenten received, making her even louder. She thought if she should tell Naruto to stop moving and try to plan something when she caught another dose of that nice smell when her face was pressed into Naruto's shoulder when he managed to bend up a little. The smell seemed to enhance her senses and make her hormones go haywire. She finally gave in to the extreme pleasure she was experiencing at the moment and stopped trying to think on how to get Naruto off her. Instead, she was thinking about how to make Naruto forget about wherever he was going to go to and how to invite him to go with her instead. She giggled madly while blushing a deep shade of red as the perverted part of her mind sent her very perverted images of Naruto doing so many naughty things to her which would make any non-gay guy kill their own family to be a certain blonde demon container. Naruto was panicking. Not only was he stuck under a huge pile of blankets down a narrow alleyway alone with a girl, he was becoming more late by the second, and for every extra second he was late, the chances of being murdered by an enraged Sakura increased dramatically. He stopped moving and closed his eyes, trying to focus his mind, which was made very hard for him at the moment because Tenten automatically whined at the sudden stop of movement and mumbled stuff like, "more," and "don't stop moving," which was distracting him greatly. His thoughts wandered off to how cute Tenten was, and how soft her big mounds pressing against his chest were. Ah crap. I'm starting to think like Ero Sennin and Kakashi Sensei. Must focus, 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 he thought, trying his best to control his hand which was inching slowly towards the girl's chest. A large cage with a seal appeared in his mind. Focus on what, Kit? On getting out or on getting your hands on the girl's s? Came the voice of Kyuubi, who was woken up by Naruto's loud thoughts. On her, Breya. I mean on getting off her, of course. I'm going to be late for the meeting and Sakura-chan will kill me for that, he said to the fox through the bars of its cage. But you're already late anyway. It makes no difference if you turn up even later because you'll get beat up by Pinky anyway. So why not have some fun first? Oh come on, it's not like you don't want it, and by the looks of it the likes it too, because she just muttered that you shouldn't leave stuff half done. Don't call her a, she's called Tenten. She's too cute and nice to be a, hear that you oversized fur ball. He shouted at the fox through the bars of the large cage. You must like the girl a lot to stand up to the great nine-tailed demon Kyuubi for her. Interesting. Seems that you finally have gave up on Pinky and moved on, said the Kyuubi. Shut up, you football. I don't like Tenten. I might like her but I still don't like her. Naruto blabbered, blushing red like a tomato. And who says I don't like Sakura-chan anymore? He asked. The fox sweat dropped. He just called me a football and then he said that he likes the Tenten but he doesn't like her in the same sentence. Are my language skills getting rustier? Is it his stupidity and bad grammar? What has Aruka been teaching him those many years? Tut, tut, he wondered for a moment and decided to answer his question. Well, when I insulted the girl called Tenten, you started shouting at me, but when I called that poor excuse of a kunoichi Pinky, you didn't react at all. Oh, thought, who do I like? Tenten-chan of Sakura-chan. And why is Tenten-chan rubbing her face against me? So smooth and soft. He blushed even redder, his face has been red for some time now, as he realized that the girl was rubbing her cheek against his, mumbling that his cheek was nice and soft. Aha, Tenten-chan, now are we? Just be a man and ask her out, but get this stuff off first. You can't do anything exciting in this position, you won't get good entry. But come to think of it, why does this girl suddenly seem to like you so much? I know that she and the other girls usually don't talk to you often, but now that I think about it, those girls did seem to stare at you from time to time, he said. Then a sudden thought hit his head. I wonder if this has to do with that. Maybe, but I'll need to make sure. If it is, things will get interesting. What are you talking about? Are the Chunin exams starting soon? What do they have to do with getting off Tenten-chan? And I'm always popular. Even more than you, shouted Naruto pointing at the fox demon. Oh, never mind. Just hurry up and get off the girl. You'll need to get to the meeting soon or you might miss it. You're meeting your temporary teacher who's going to accompany you to your new mission, remember? You still don't know any details apart from the fact that you'll go to the sand. Oh yeah, that reminds me of why I'm here. I need you to help me to open the first chakra gate, said Naruto. Why? Asked the fox curiously. I taught you how to do it and you could open up to the sixth gate by now by yourself, so why ask me to do it for you, lazy bum? I'm not lazy, yelled Naruto, I'm just too distracted to do it right now, okay? He said, blushing. Fine, fine, but you owe me a favor, grumbled the fox as he concentrated. Tenten had noticed that Naruto seemed to have started to think of something because he hadn't moved for almost a full 10 minutes. She stopped rubbing her cheek against his, she kept doing it because it felt so good, but now her neck was sore, and looked at his face. So cute, she thought. I wonder if he'll mind if she started edging her lips closer to his face, while her heart rate increased the closer she got. But before her lips made contact, Naruto opened his eyes, a large amount of chakra suddenly flowing through his body. Tenten realized that he had opened his chakra gate because she had seen Lee practice it every day in the training grounds while Neji sat in a corner and meditated. Naruto focused the chakra on his hands and legs and pushed hard onto ground, sending the huge pile of blanket flying upwards a few feet off him, landing with a flump behind him. Yes, finally got it off, he said happily. But then he froze when he saw the tears forming in Tenten's eyes. Am I just so ugly and fat that you want to get away from me as fast as you can? She squeaked as she started to sob. No, said Naruto quickly as he started to panic. He couldn't handle crying girls, he'd get too soft and promise anything. The last time Sakura did it and managed to make him promise to make him try to find out what Sasuke likes. He shuddered at the memory. Flashback. He had followed Sasuke around for a week after missions, asking what he liked. In the end, Sasuke asked him if he was gay in front of Lee and Ino, who were helping Tsunade and Shizune carry some paperwork to the Hokage's office. Closing parenthesis. Ino dropped the papers at once and ran off to tell Sasuke's fangirls that Naruto was trying to steal Sasuke. Lee too had dropped his papers and started running around in circles screaming that Sasuke had brain damage and couldn't pick apart Naruto and Guy. He misheard gay for guy, and ended up tripping over Topton and hit a lamp post, blacking out. Shizune started picking up the paperwork, grumbling about irresponsible kids, and Tsunade ran towards Naruto, grabbed him by the collar of his orange jumpsuit and dragged him to the hospital to check his ITY with a special test that consisted of showing him pages of adult magazines and reading out parts of Ika Ika Paradise to him to see how he reacted. After passing out with severe blood loss, Tsunade had confirmed that he was not gay and Shizune carried him back home giggling. He had to evade half of the female teens in the village for a month until Tsunade took pity in him and told them about the test, skipping the parts about what it included. After the girls thought their Sasuke-kun wasn't endangered by Naruto, they stopped hunting him and left him alone. End flashback. He didn't want to experience something like that ever again, so he needed to be careful, but Tenten's teary face was melting his barrier of will like fire to ice. But you even opened a chakra gate to get away from me, she said through soft sobs, her eyes full of tears threatening to burst out at any moment. And no, stuttered Naruto, seeing her crying made him feel bad. I wanted to get off you quickly so I won't squash your beautiful body, and you're so cute, not ugly at all, said Naruto quickly, trying to cheer her up before he did any other stupid things. Really? Asked Tenten, looking at Naruto with watery eyes. Of course, said Naruto hurriedly. In fact, since you're so cute, I'll treat you to some ice cream tomorrow evening, Tenten-chan. he said, the first idea of how to cheer her up that came to his mind. Yay! Tenten suddenly cried, flinging her arms around Naruto's neck, pulling him into a tight hug, her attitude doing a 180-degree turn. I love ice cream. Thank you so much, Naruto-kun. She kissed him on the cheek happily, making Naruto blush. A second later she realized what she had just done and blushed too. She quickly released her hold on his neck and ran away quickly, shouting, "See you tomorrow at the ice cream stand, Naruto-kun." Back at him. Naruto touched the spot Tenten kissed, dazed. Then he remembered about the meeting at the north gate and started to hurry towards it. But he hadn't gone 2 paces when he heard Sakura shout, "Oi! Naruto!" He stopped running to see Sakura running towards him. "Oh hi Sakura-chan," he said, "I was just he." Bonk, Sakura has just reached him and had hit him on the head hard with the same pink rubber hammer Tenten used earlier. "Why were you late, you baka?" she yelled, chucking the rubber hammer aside and hooking her arm around Naruto's neck, trying to strangle him. "When you weren't there after an hour we thought something had happened to you and split up to find you. And now I find you perfectly okay and, hey, you smell nice," she commented, stopping her attempt of murder when a nice smell which reminded her of fresh flowers caught her nose. She breathed it in deeply, enjoying the scent. Then she realized that she had her face very close to Naruto's, way too close. She immediately let go of him, a blush creeping up her face. "You were too late, so our temporary sensei postponed the meeting to tomorrow morning at the same place, so don't be late this time or I'll kill you for sure." She walked off quickly. After turning a corner, she stopped and took a deep calming breath, thinking, why does Naruto seem so mature and today, Naruto can't be, I mean he's kinda cute, but not that. No, I'm going mad. She started banging her head against a brick wall, shattering it. "Ops, better go before someone finds out," she muttered before leaving. Back with Naruto. "Can't believe I'm still alive. This must be my lucky day. First I meet Tenten-chan and get to see her tomorrow, and then Sakura-chan didn't kill me for being late. Yay. I'm going to celebrate with a large bowl of ramen." He thought happily, running to Ichiraku Ramen, failing to notice the blush that was on his teammate's face when she left. Better not make being late a habit though, I might not be so lucky next time. Then I'll be like Kakashi-sensei, he thought as he jumped onto the rooftops. With Kakashi. Kakashi sneezed, spraying spit through his face mask onto the expensive vase he was cleaning on the second floor. At first nothing seemed to happen, but then the vase started glowing a mysterious color. Then a blue genie with a small black beard came out, much like the one in Aladdin, yawning widely. "You have summoned the blue genie of the vase. I will grant you 3 wishes, so speak up, what do you want?" said the genie in a surprisingly girly voice. Without so much as a thought, Kakashi said, "I wish to know your gender." "You know. What are you? Male or female?" "Both." The genie replied calmly, giggling girlishly at the shocked look on Kakashi's face. "What do you mean both? What? Do you have a beep and a beep, huh? What the beep is with the beep-ing sound?" He asked no one in particular. "You're using words that aren't suitable for kids to hear, so I filtered them out with the magic button." He held out a black plastic box with a red button on top. "If you want to say those words, say them in a more formal phrase." "What the beep? I don't know the formal word of organs." "Oh, beep it." He cursed the beep-ing sound and took out a paper bag and started talking to the girlish genie again. "Do you mean that you have a?" He pulled out a sausage. "And a?" He pulled out a jam donut and continued, at the same time. "Course I do, I'm a genie. Genies eat sausages and jam donuts to live." He pulled out a stack of sausages from his vase and took a bit out of one. "But what's that got to do with my gender?" asked the genie through a mouthful of sausage, spraying Kakashi with food. "No," shouted Kakashi. "I mean, do you have?" "Wait a second." Kakashi stormed off and after exactly 1 second, dragged a confused Yuki into the room, who was trimming a large plant with a huge pair of scissors just outside. I'm asking you if you have this. He pulled down his pants, pointing at a spot below his waist. And this, ignoring Yuki's stares, he grabbed the hem of her dress, pulling it up, ripped sway her white knickers and pointed between her legs, at the same time. Yes, that a problem? Asked the genie, looking puzzled as Yuki stopped trying to murder Kakashi, screaming, "Pervert!" to stare at the genie with her mouth open. Kakashi took the chance to say, "I wish you will make Yuki stop trying to kill me," before Yuki could start attacking again him with her rather huge menacing pair of scissors to cut off a certain body part of his. The genie said, "Wish granted," and snapped his fingers, literally. Ouch! Phew! Beep! Finger! Beep! He stopped cursing when he heard the beeping and looked at Kakashi. Kakashi shrugged. "Someone's got to do this, you know," he said, holding the box. But then it was knocked out of his hands when Yuki smashed into him, hugging him tightly. "Kakashi-kun, why is your deep beep?" The genie had quickly picked up the box and pressed the button on time, sticking out. "Do you want me to play with you? I'll do anything for you, Kakashi-kun." She tried to pin him down, but Kakashi dodged, pulling his pants back up while shouting, "What the beep is going on?" to the genie. "Well," said the genie calmly, "you wished for Yuki to stop killing you. For that she will have to love you to overcome the urge to kill you. But since I am a genie of love, or rather, I got carried away and overdid it a bit, so she not only loves you, but also lusts for your body too." "Then make her not lust for my body then. I must save my first time for Anko-chan," shouted Kakashi while pushing Yuki off him, who had successfully pinned him to the floor, and started ripping off his clothes and tossing them aside. "This is your third wish then?" asked the genie, preparing to grant it. "Yes," shouted Kakashi, pushing Yuki's head away from his private area. The genie flicked his fingers this time and Yuki stopped trying to give Kakashi a you-know-what. She suddenly dashed from the room. Phew, that was really close. He started but didn't continue because Yuki had ran back in, wearing very exposing clothing and dragging a metal chair with chains and all sorts of S&M equipment stacked on top. She swiftly grabbed Kakashi and chained him to the chair, making it impossible to use jutsu or escape. "What's going on?" shouted a terrified Kakashi to the genie. "Well," said the genie, scratching her head, "they say that love is the most powerful force in the world. I say women with S&M personalities are the true rulers on this earth, so it seems that I have flipped her switch and created an unstoppable monster." He looked at the scene in front of him and was slightly annoyed that no one was listening to his confusing crap. "Well, my job is done. See you after 100 years, if you're still alive by then." He vanished back into the vase, chucking some condoms in the direction of Kakashi, saying, "Have fun, and play safe." "Wait, save me," he yelled at the vase, but no reply came. Retreating to grab the black box off the floor, Yuki advanced again at Kakashi, drooling as she locked the door as she passed it. Kakashi only had one thought before the wild day continued. "I'm so screwed." With Tenten. Tenten sat under her favorite tree in the park, thinking. Why did she get so emotional around Naruto? She didn't even flinch when some guy told her that he thought that she looked and dressed like a pig in a wig before Neji beat the shit out of him. And she just lost control of her emotions and acted like an immature schoolgirl around Naruto because she had a thought that the blonde didn't like her. She even kissed him without a second thought. She blushed at the memory. Then she remembered something else that made her heart leap. He had called her Tenten-chan. Does that mean that he has feelings toward her the same way she's been feeling toward the blonde? Maybe she'll figure it out later because she was hungry. She was about to leave for lunch when Lee popped up, shouted, "Tenten," and ran towards her, only to receive a punch in the face. "What do you want, Lee?" asked Tenten, sounding annoyed. "Guy-sensei told me and Neji to find you because you weren't there when sensei remembered about a meeting. So he went there to wait while we find you." Then an hour of trying to find you later sensei comes again and tells me to tell you to meet him somewhere at the North Gate tomorrow morning to discuss about a new mission. He said all in one breath. Oh okay, see you tomorrow then Lee, bye, was all she said and she vanished at a quick speed. Soon she was cooking ramen for lunch at her house thinking, I wonder what will the mission will be, hope it won't be too long or I'll miss ice cream with Naruto-kun. At the Ichiraku ramen stand, Naruto was thinking about the similar thing while slurping down ramen, not noticing that the cook's daughter Arimi was drooling at him with hearts in her eyes for some reason. Jiraiya grinned widely as he watched Naruto in the shadows with a telescope, and started scribbling madly as he watched Naruto crash into Tenten and tumbled into an alleyway. Yes, he said aloud as he watched Naruto and Tenten struggle to get the blankets off them. He then quickly used a jutsu to eavesdrop on them. When Tenten got out and started to cut the blankets off Naruto, the super pervert summoned a small frog and gave it some orders. The frog used some thin string to tie Naruto's foot to some of the blankets and backed off when Naruto tried to stand up. His leg tugged onto the blankets. He stumbled into Tenten while pulling the huge pile of blankets, with some help from Jiraiya who used his chakra to give the blankets a push from behind. Back onto him and Tenten. Jiraiya then started giggling madly and drooling as he heard Tenten's loud S. His grin widened even more when he heard her mutter stuff like, don't stop, and more. It's working better than I expected, you should be thankful I used you as my test subject, Naruto, thought Jiraiya as he put away his telescope. He dispelled his eavesdropping jutsu and cancelled his summoned frog, which had gotten stuck in the blankets when Naruto threw the pile off himself and Tenten. Jiraiya quickly left to discuss the results of the experiment with his partner in crime. With Kakashi. Less than in the evening. Greater than. Kakashi put his clothes back on, wincing as the clothing passed the places where Yuki had whipped him. He glanced back at Yuki, who was currently sleeping on the floor with her arms around a Kakashi-shaped doll. When she had unchained him from the chair to continue their fun, after 2 hours of torture, Kakashi had been whipped, burned, groped, and many other crazy stuff only Jiraiya could think of. Then she had tied him to the bed in the room. Kakashi was worn out from the S&Ming and didn't have the strength to resist, and climbed on top of him, completely. Kakashi, who was also completely stripped of clothing, could only watch as Yuki entertained herself with his body, and after another 3 hours, finally fell asleep exhausted on Kakashi. Kakashi struggled with the ropes that bound him for 5 or 6 minutes before finally breaking free. He tried to move but Yuki had her slender legs wrapped around his legs and her arms around his neck, her body pressed onto his. With much difficulty, he formed the hand seals he needed and used the replacement jutsu, replacing himself with a Kakashi doll. He left the room and went to take a bath in the hot springs. He changed into a towel and went into the springs, wincing again as his damaged skin touched the warm water. He sat there for a while, wondering what to do with his messed up life. Today, he had lost his virginity to a mad woman who was barely 18 years old. He had failed his Anko-chan and cannot face her anymore. Kakashi looked up at the moon, remembering how he had first met Anko. Flashback. Kakashi ran through the forest, heading to the forest at breakneck speed. He had just finished training on how to perfect his Chidori and was now rushing towards Konoha's lone cinema to watch the first Ica Ica Paradise motion picture. He had waited for 3 weeks to watch the movie. He had waited in front of the cinema for 3 days just so he could be the first one to buy a ticket. He had bought the one in the first row and used half of his salary to buy the special edition of Ica Ica Paradise Volume 1, which had extra scenes and chapters, including illustrations of the inspiration which had caused the amazing author to write this masterpiece. It was strange since he thought he had seen those women somewhere before, but couldn't remember where, until he saw a group of them entering the bathhouse he was passing. He shrugged it off and entered the cinema. It was there. In the seat next to him was Anko, who was watching the screen with extreme concentration while eating on a piece of dango. She had the most beautiful eyes he had ever seen, which was filled with the same kind of innocence that only Naruto had. Even when she watched the most exciting part of the show, she didn't have any reaction when the whole group in the cinema, including Kakashi, fell to the floor unconscious from extreme blood loss. When it was over, she got up and looked around the cinema, seeing everyone lying on the ground or hanging off their chairs. Then Kakashi stirred, mumbling something that caught Anko's interest. She carried Kakashi out of the cinema and laid him on a bench in the park. She woke him up by stroking a sensitive area and giggled at the sudden yelp of Kakashi. Kakashi shuddered when he saw who had woken him up. Anko was famous for her temper and behavior. She was very childish and dangerous at the same time, which was not good because the combination would make it a bomb waiting to blow up when somebody pressed the wrong button. He was thinking on how to escape when Anko spoke. "Why were you lying on the floor with blood running down your nose?" she said, giggling. "Well," said Kakashi slowly, he needed to choose his words carefully, because he wanted to live long enough to see the next season of Ika Ika Paradise. "It's because the movie is very good, so exciting that I had a nosebleed," he said uncertainly. "Really?" she asked. It seemed boring, it didn't even have any interesting stuff in it. The most non-boring thing was the fact that the main character had blonde hair and blue eyes like the fourth Hokage. "What?" said Kakashi disbelievingly. "What about the scenes? Surely you came to watch this movie because you want to see the magnificent novel in motion," he said. "Not really," said Anko. "I just bought the wrong ticket and watched this because I was bored, and those scenes aren't that good anyway. Those positions are mostly impossible. I prove it to you someday," she said. Kakashi was so shocked that she didn't like the masterpiece of Jiraiya's work. He took out his special edition of Ika Ika Paradise Volume 1 and shoved it in front of her face at the page of illustrations. "Hey," said Anko, looking at the pictures closely, "the illustrator S. Mimi's S are way bigger and Nico's skin is not that dark. Whoever did this S at it, he should change jobs." Kakashi was stunned. Anko was talking about stuff like it was food of drinks, not even a tiny hint of embarrassment in her voice and on her face. That was when Kakashi realized that she was the girl he wanted, a girl who wouldn't kick him in the balls for or burn his books whenever he read his books. "But the scenes, they're fantastic. Don't you want to be held like that? While a man gave you the time of your life, like in the movie?" said Kakashi. "Yeah, I do," said Anko, "but that crap in the movie is so much that I'll die of boredom. I'll prove that the technique the main character uses will have you ing for more," shouted Kakashi, who couldn't stand people who insult Ika Ika Paradise, like Guy for example. "Like you can," Anko shouted back, annoyed. "I bet you that the next movie even crapper, and if it is better than this one, I'll become your personal slave, and do all that crap you call exciting in that crappy movie with you." "You're on," shouted Kakashi. "If I lose, I'll never read a porn novel ever again, not like I'll ever lose to you. You said it, and I'll personally burn those things you call books when you lose," she said before stomping away, scaring anything that breathes to death with her glare as she walks past. End flashback. Kakashi sighed heavily. It was then when he started turning up late for everything. He went to the memorial stone to visit Obito every day, not to grieve, but to ask him advice on how to sort out his feelings. He was in love and he was troubled. He could kill enemies in a blink of an eye and has copied more than 1,000 jutsus, but he can't handle his love life, and just lost his virginity to a mad girl who loves him because he wished it. He had sat in the spring for so long that he was getting a bit dizzy, so he got out and went back to his sleeping quarters to rest. He would deal with the loving Yuki tomorrow and then think about what to do. At the Hokage's tower. "So is the experiment successful?" asked Tsunade, her hands on her desk and looking interested at her companion. "Very successful, tsunade," said Jiraiya, grinning. "The washing materials we gave him are working very well. In fact, it's much more effective than I imagined. I think it has to do with something about Naruto. He seems to have some sort of charm or something that arouses girls. I bet he'll become the target of many girls after a few days. Good, said Tsunade grinning. Naruto is going to be fun to watch these days. I haven't seen stuff this interesting since Naruto accidentally flew over onto Shizune in the bathtub through the window where she was bathing by a punch from Sakura for peeping on her in the hot springs when he had misread the sign. I think Shizune has had a crush on him ever since because according to her, he is quite well built for a boy his age. What? Shizune is into younger boys? Said Jiraiya surprised. Oh come on, she's only about 19 years old. She was 7 when I found her in a destroyed village 12 years ago, said Tsunade. And Naruto is 15 years old. Anyway, he needs some fun. He nearly died the time he dragged Sasuke back from Orochimaru with 2 holes in his chest and the sword of Chutai sticking out of his right arm. Barely anyone knew that it was Naruto who dragged Sasuke back. They all think that Sasuke came back on his own accord. She clenched her hand angrily thinking about the unfairness of Naruto's life. Anyway, said Jiraiya, I still don't know why Naruto didn't just kill Sasuke when they fought. I mean, if Naruto killed him, he could have left before Orochimaru turned up. Orochimaru was armless at that time, but still very dangerous. Makes me wonder how he survived. It's for some promise he made to Sakura, said Tsunade. He promised her that he will bring Sasuke back alive and he never breaks his promises even if it costs him his life. If Naruto hadn't found out how to destroy the cursed seal, I would have killed Sasuke anyway. How is Team 7 working right now anyway? Asked Jiraiya. Well, they are working okay, but Sakura is still ogling Sasuke. She even thinks Sasuke came back on his own accord even when Naruto was in the hospital for 3 bloody weeks to recover from 2 Chidori's deadly poison and that F- and King's sword Orochimaru uses. Shizune had to strap him to the bed and watch him 24/7 to keep him from escaping, said Tsunade. Not that she didn't enjoy being the one to wash Naruto, she added with a small smirk. I never thought I would see the day Naruto begging Shizune not to give him ramen, but after you eat the hospital meals, dog poop will seem like a feast. She laughed at the memory of Naruto begging Shizune not to feed him the horrible stuff in the bowl, and Shizune had managed to convince him to eat it by threatening to tell Gaara that he saw Temari in the hot springs a few times. He did? Asked Jiraiya looking surprised. Apparently Naruto was finding certain a white-haired faggot to train him when he saw Temari in the hot springs. The time Gaara came to ask for a team to help deliver scrolls a month ago when they arrived, remember? The mission was supposed to start today but Naruto was late for the meeting, which was because of our little experiment, right? Asked Tsunade. Jiraiya nodded. The mission starts tomorrow now so it won't too bad, he replied. You might want to send an extra person too because the bandits are increasing around the borders and Guy's team is more specialized in spying and informating gathering. Even with the Naruto the super idiot on the team, it's still very risky against that big group of people. So I think it is best if we sign a medic nin on the team, in case anyone gets hurt. Don't trust Sakura to be the medic, she'll just think of Sasuke the whole mission. I think I know the perfect choice, said Tsunade as Shizune walked into the room with some letters for her to read. What choice, Tsunade-sama? She asked curiously as she set the letters onto the desk. Shizune, I am putting you on a mission to the hidden sand village with your crew, Clear's throat, I mean with Naruto's team and Team Guy. You will meet them at the north gate at 7 o'clock to leave, Clear. Okay, Shizune said nervously, but inside she was celebrating. I'm going on a mission with Naruto-kun. Hooray! Hooray! Some of her inner feelings must have shown on her face because Tsunade and Jiraiya were grinning evilly at her. What? Do I stink or something? She asked, a bit unnerved to see Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama looking at her in a creepy manner. Oh, nothing much. Have fun at the mission, they said at the same time, emphasizing the word fun, while still looking at her in that creepy way. Okay, Shizune said unsurely. I think that I will go and pack for the mission tomorrow. Bye. She left the room quickly, eager to get away from the two Sanin's creepy gaze. How much do you bet that Shizune rapes Naruto during the mission because he is so handsome said Tsunade, grinning widely. Nothing, said Jiraiya. I bet that all the girls that Naruto meets during the mission will try to molest him. He's already de-Tonton. Oink. I mean Tenten unknowingly this morning, said Jiraiya happily. And Sakura caught a small blast too, but she's too stupid to notice Naruto anyway, she's blind to everything except Sasuke. Tsunade said grimly. Naruto will become the women's dreams when I complete the experiment. All he needs to do is to use the shampoo for a week and the effect will last forever, said Jiraiya proudly. Then he will be the happiest man on earth, with better looks than the fourth Hokage and the heart of all the Hokages put together, which he was born with. And I will become the greatest pervert in history to create the legend of an idiot who wins all the hearts of the girls in Konoha and creates a utopia with love and muahahahaha. He laughed crazily and was bonked on the head by Tsunade, who was holding a familiar pink hammer. Wake up. Naruto won't create a utopia yet because he hasn't become Hokage yet and he is not old enough to have to, she said casually. Though he is already very big down there, she added as an afterthought. And you call me a pervert, muttered Jiraiya, only to receive another whack on the head by the hammer again. The conversation continued for a while about Naruto's stupidity while the rest of Konoha rested in peace, at least most of the village. At Naruto's crappy apartment, Naruto sneezed again for the 100th time that night. He sat up looking at his fixed clock. It read 12 o'clock. Darn, who on earth is talking about me late at night? Maybe it's Kakashi-sensei or someone. Zzz. He flopped back onto his bed, snoring loudly. Not noticing the young woman sitting at his table packing his things for him. Silly idiot, the young woman said softly as she cleared away the rubbish under his bed, and taking his clothes out to wash them for him. She noticed the yellow book and took it out, reading the cover with the moonlight. Ika Ika Paradise Part 8, The Power of Porn, was visible on the cover. She looked at the innocent-looking boy, who was drooling, muttering stuff like, ramen, and ice cream. She sighed and put the book back into the box and put the box back under his bed. Kakashi-san and Jiraiya-sama are starting to affect you, Naruto-kun. Shizune said softly while looking at his cute face, wanting nothing more than to kiss it. She leaned closer to Naruto, getting closer to his face. She breathed in the scent of Naruto's hair and started getting dirty ideas. Her soft lips almost made contact with Naruto's when Naruto rolled over, falling off the bed with an ouch. Shizune's apartment. Shizune reappeared in front of her table, breathing deeply while blushing like mad. That was close, she murmured to herself as she sat down on her bed thinking about what gave her those perverted thoughts. She took out a book from under her pillow and looked at the cover. Maybe I should stop reading these books anymore. I think that they are making me think inappropriately, she said to herself and tossed the book onto her table. She stripped herself and slid under her covers since it was mid-July and was too hot for clothes in her opinion. She drifted off to sleep mumbling how Kakashi sets bad examples for the people around him. A weak ray of moonlight shone over the yellow book and you could just make out the words, Ika Ika Paradise. At Naruto's crappy apartment, Naruto got back onto his bed sleepily, looking around for the shadow he saw. That's strange, I swear I saw someone leaning over me. He looked at his table to see his bag packed and his weapons and clothes cleaned. What happened? He murmured before plumping back on his bed. Stupid Kakashi-sensei saying people who break into your house are thieves. But I don't lock my door anyway. Zzz. He fell asleep again mumbling about mask-wearing perverts. With Kakashi. Kakashi sneezed and woke up from his usual nightmare consisting of cooking pots and TV remotes, but this time with Yuki chasing him around holding a whip and a red-hot choker, trying to capture him. He tried to get up but Yuki was on top of him sleeping. He sighed and closed his eyes wondering, how the hell did I get into this mess? Yuki tightened her hold on Kakashi and drooled onto his shirt. Kakashi fell asleep thinking if he would survive tomorrow without being raped or killed, back into the nightmares of his doom. At Naruto's crappy apartment, Naruto's newly bought alarm clock went off. The sound sent the birds flying away and the people living in the next building. Nobody wants to live in the same building as Naruto, so they all moved at least 1 block away from him. To wake up. The sound lasted for 3 whole minutes, but Naruto still slept soundly, until the alarm lock fell off the table next to his bed and hit the floor with a smash. The sleepy blonde finally got up when a battery hit him on the forehead and lazily went to the bathroom. He washed his face and brushed his teeth. He then took a shower, with the stuff Jiraiya mentioned. After that he went back to the only other room in his apartment and changed into the fresh clothes on his table, his orange jumpsuit, and looked under his bed for some food, but after looking for a while he found nothing. Sighing, he pulled his wallet out from under his pillow and looked at the contents inside it. He had enough for 2 bowls of ramen, the rest would be used for other purposes. He left his apartment, not bothering to lock his door since nothing in there was worth much and no one other than him lived in this building anyway. Naruto zoomed off to the Ichiraku ramen stand to have his breakfast. Training grounds. Neji was sitting in the shade of a large tree watching his teammates doing their training. Lee was currently doing push-ups, about halfway through his goal of 400. The Hyuga watched as Lee went on, with no sign of tiredness on his face, while Tenten was a few feet away from him practicing her with her kunai and shuriken. Neji observed her for a while and noticed something strange. Tenten's kunai and shuriken were whizzing through the air, striking the tree, but almost all of them missed the target stuck on the wood, some of them hitting the trees nowhere near the target while most of the metal bounced off the trees harmlessly. Neji decided to go and see what's going on. "What's bugging you, Tenten?" said Neji, walking up to the girl and crossing his arms. He started feeling annoyed when Tenten continued to chuck her weapons carelessly at the direction of the tree, ignoring him as if she was in a trance. Neji sighed and spoke again. "Tenten, what's bugging you?" he asked again. When he received no response, he walked in front of her targets, thinking that she would stop and notice him now. He was wrong because Tenten still chucked stuff at his direction. Shocked that the girl still didn't notice he was there, he didn't react fast enough and was hit by one of the kunai. Ten. The girl snapped out of it and looked blankly at Neji, who was clutching his bleeding shoulder with his left hand, looking very annoyed. Then Tenten realized what had happened and rushed up to him, apologizing. "Sorry, Neji. I was thinking about something and didn't see you," she said and handed him some bandages. "What's bugging you?" asked Neji for the 3rd time while cleaning his wound with some strange white stuff. He glared at Tenten, who blushed a bit and replied, "Nothing important." "Yeah, and that unimportant thing distracted you so much you hit your own teammate with a kunai," said Neji sarcastically. He finished cleaning the wound and wrapped bandages around it, tying the knot carefully. "So, what happened? You missed the meeting yesterday and turn up today looking like someone who saw Lee in the shower." Tenten, who had zoomed away again, only caught the words, "saw Lee in the shower." "What? You saw Lee in the shower?" she asked, surprised, making Neji extremely annoyed. "No, I didn't see Lee in the shower, and I was asking you why you are so distracted today." Tenten was about to answer when Lee walked up to them, having finished his push-ups. "What are you two talking about?" he asked, looking from an extremely annoyed Neji to Tenten, who was blushing. Lee thought, "I've hardly ever seen Tenten blush before, something strange must have happened. So what's going on? Did Neji just confess his undying love to you, or is it the other way around?" he asked the girl. Tenten's blush disappeared as she snorted. "As if he ever will. I think he's gay," she said. "I'm not," Neji shouted defensively, almost too defensively. She ignored him and continued. "I was just thinking about Nar." She stopped herself from saying the rest of the sentence, but the other two took a guess. Neji smirked and said, "Ah, of course, you were thinking about Naruto. Then I assume that you didn't show up for the mission because you two were too busy making out in a dark alleyway or something." He joked, but was surprised when Tenten blushed a deep shade of red. He looked shocked. Quote. You two were really making out somewhere, weren't you? He accused. Tenten blushed even deeper and looked anywhere but at Neji's pale eyes. Well, not exactly. We just bumped into each other pretty hard and tumbled into this alleyway with some torn blankets in it. We got stuck and it took us a long time to get out and we were pressed into each other and, her voice faded into nothingness as her face got even redder than possible, pressing two of her fingers very much like Hinata. Neji was about to ask her why she liked the idiot Naruto and not him when Guy appeared in a puff of smoke standing on a large red turtle, doing a pose with his teeth gleaming. Good morning, my dear pupils. Today is the day we go on a mission to the sand, and we shall complete the mission with our flames of youth with our other teammates. He shouted, doing a second pose, his teeth gleaming again. Guy-sensei, you are so hip. Shouted Lee, tears streaming down his eyes, hugging his sensei. Lee. Guy shouted back, tears streaming down his eyes too, hugging his pupil back. The scene behind them turned into a view of the sunset. Guy-sensei. Neji frowned. Lee. Neji's scowl became more pronounced. Guy-sensei. Neji started twitching. Lee. Neji started radiating an uncomfortable aura. Guy-sensei. Neji activated his Byakugan. Lee. Neji prepared to strike the duo with kunai. Tenten, who noticed the danger signs, in other words Neji who is preparing to attack, quickly intervened before Neji could attempt murder. She stepped between her sensei and Neji, holding a certain large pink hammer in her hands. Stepped up to Guy and Lee, raising the hammer. Then, she started whacking the pair of them, shouting, "Stop acting so gay for once, we need to go to meet our other teammates for the mission." The two green beasts of Konoha stopped their hugging for a moment, looking at Tenten who had the large pink hammer propped on her shoulder, frowning at them. Then, to Tenten's horror, they burst into tears of joy again, once again locking in a bear hug, Guy shouting, "Tenten is so youthful. Our team is blessed with youthful members." Yes, Guy-sensei. Lee shouted. Scene changed to a waterfall. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Neji, who had finally snapped and started chucking his weapons at Guy and Lee, shouting, "We need to get to the north gate to meet our teammates for the mission, you gays." Guy and Lee looked shocked at the fact that Neji had actually shouted, chucking stuff at them too. All of them missed because Neji was too pissed off to aim. They stared at the Hyuga for a while before, once again bursting into tears. This time Lee shouted, "Neji is so hip. He too is also burning with the flames of youth." He shouted, hugging his sensei again. "Our team is blessed with youthful members." Guy shouted before breaking the hug. "To celebrate our youthfulness, Tenten and Neji, please put these on." He held out two green spandex suits. Tenten and Neji looked truly horrified, and started backing off, Tenten holding up her pink hammer in defense. Said Neji, looking around for the best escape route. Tenten continued the sentence for him. "I think we should get going, the others are waiting for us," she said before turning around. She started running to the north gate with Neji desperate to get away from the two maniacs behind them. Lee and Guy followed, shouting things about their youthfulness and how the suits would fit their teammates perfectly. Ichiraku ramen stand. Naruto slurped down his fifth bowl of ramen. The old man was not here today, so Ayame took care of the store. She gave him bowl after bowl of free ramen just so she could see his cute face longer. Naruto noticed her staring at him and looked up, puzzled. "Anything wrong, Ayame-chan?" he asked, not noticing her blush when he looked at her. Ayame quickly said the first excuse she thought of. "Just wondering how to explain to my father why you got so many free bowls of ramen in one day," she said, looking dreamily into his sky blue eyes, making Naruto getting a bit red in the face. He wasn't used to girls staring at him in that kind of way. Maybe you could say that you lost some of it, he said lamely as Ayame still stared at him with some kind of emotion he wasn't familiar with. But that would be a lot of trouble, the girl said, a sudden idea forming in her mind. I guess I could pay for you, she said, a mischievous smile forming on her face. But I would want something in return. Sure, said Naruto. What would you like? He asked. A date, she replied, smiling sweetly at him. Naruto, who was taking a sip water, choked on it. He looked up at the smiling girl, blushing. Ayame giggled at his confused look. So when do I get my date, Naruto-kun? She asked happily. Maybe sometime after my mission. It lasts for about a month, he said unsteadily. Ayame looked disappointed. You mean I will have to wait for a whole month without seeing you? She said. Sorry, but I promise once I get back I'll take you somewhere great, said Naruto quickly, not wanting to see the girl sad. Okay, said Ayame looking slightly happier, but I will have to take something of yours so you don't forget, she said. Okay, what do you want to take? Asked Naruto. The girl smiled mischievously again. Lean forward, Naruto-kun, and close your eyes, she said. Naruto panicked. She's going to take my forehead protector, he thought as he did what he was told and leaned forward towards her, closing his eyes. Then he felt her hands lifting his face, and then suddenly her soft lips were pressed against his, surprising him. After a full 10 seconds, he felt her lips leave his and he opened his eyes to see Ayame looking very pleased with a heavy blush on her face. There, she said happily. I stole a kiss, and when you come back and take me on a date, I'll give it back, she said, giggling at Naruto, who was blushing like crazy. You should go to meet your teammates for the mission, you know, she stated when he didn't do anything apart from blushing and staring. Or do you want to have another kiss before you go? She asked hopefully. Naruto said, but couldn't continue because Ayame yanked him back towards her and kissed him again. There, she said after the long kiss. You'll be late, you know, if you don't hurry up. Okay, was all Naruto managed to say before standing up. See you when I get back, bye, he said before setting off. Leaving behind a very happy ramen girl who sat behind the counter staring dreamily at Naruto's slowly disappearing form, thinking about the date she'll get when he gets back. She didn't even notice the woman who had just entered the store. Naruto is so, isn't he? The woman asked. Who cares? Replied Ayame dreamily, not realizing who it was. I like him because he's Naruto-kun, not because he's. But he seems even more irresistible lately, she admitted. This made Tsunade grin. Sorry to burst your bubble, but you are going to have a lot of competition, she said knowingly. Now that caught Ayame's attention. What? She said, her head turning to Tsunade so fast that it was quite alarming. Yep, said the Hokage. Many women have started to notice Naruto. Actually, I just met one at the office who has a crush on him for a while already. And even if he doesn't realize it, he'll be flocked by girls soon enough, so you better try hard or he'll be taken soon. I won't lose to anybody, she said loudly, flames in her eyes. Naruto-kun will be mine. Well, good luck then, said Tsunade. Now if you would kindly stop dreaming about the boy, please get me a bowl of miso ramen. Ayame blushed and quickly started work. In front of the north gate, Sakura and Sasuke stood in front of the gate waiting for the others. Sasuke was brooding as usual and Sakura was trying to get Sasuke to go on a date. Oh come on Sasuke-kun, a date wouldn't hurt, wouldn't it? She asked hopefully. Sasuke ignored her. Sakura nagged him for another 5 minutes before giving up. It was almost 7 a.m., and she was about to explode from boredom when she saw Tenten and Neji running towards them at high speed. Quick! Hide us now before Guy and Lee find us, said Tenten, panicking. Then they heard Guy's voice along with Lee's. Too late, she said. There they are. Our youthful teammates are with Sasuke-kun and Sakura-san, shouted Lee, running towards them with Guy close behind. Where are our last teammates? Asked Guy, finally putting the spandex suits away. Tenten and Neji relaxed a bit. Yeah, where is the idiot? Asked Neji. Tenten looked puzzled. We're doing the mission with you guys. She asked. Sakura nodded. That means our teammate is. She stopped abruptly at the sound of screaming. She turned around just in time to see an orange blur zoom past her, jumping into a tree near them. She saw the reason a few seconds later. A huge group of girls ran up to them panting. Hey, have you seen a hot blonde guy running past? One of them asked. The 6 of them just stared dumbly back. I guess not then. Another one said, and they ran off to find the hot blonde guy. After they left, Naruto emerged from his hiding place and walked up to them panting hard. Those maniacs started chasing me when I walked by. What's wrong with them? He asked. No one answered. He looked at the group, confused. What? He asked, but then Tenten flung her arms around his neck, squealing. Surprised at her actions, Naruto lost balance and fell to the ground with Tenten on top of him. Sakura, Sasuke, Lee, Guy and Neji stared disbelievingly as Tenten clung to Naruto, saying, "Yay! I get a mission with Naruto-kun." Naruto, who was blushing red, said, Tenten-chan, we need to start the mission soon, so would you mind if you got off me?" Tenten realized what she had done and let go of him. Blushing red, she reluctantly got off the blonde. Naruto got back onto his feet, a bit unnerved at the stares he was receiving. Neji was practically glaring. So when do we leave for the mission, Super Fuzzy Brows Sensei? Guy cleared his throat. We leave right after the briefing and when our medic arrives, he said, taking a scroll out from his coat while looking at Tenten, who was clinging to Naruto's arm, which was making Neji glare. Lee, on the other hand, was hopelessly trying to answer some questions asked by Sasuke and Sakura. Now listen up, Guy said, catching everyone's attention. Tenten let go of a confused Naruto and looked at her sensei. We will travel to the sand to get some scrolls that will arrive soon. We will stop at villages along the way and help clear out bandits. We will stay at inns during the mission, so I hope no one brought tents. They all shook their heads. Good, and our last teammate just arrived too, he said. They all looked around to see Shizune running towards them, dressed in her usual clothing. Sorry I'm late, she said, bowing. I forgot to get the information from the Hokage, so I needed to go to the Hokage's tower before coming to meet you guys. Naruto looked delighted. Yay! I get to visit Gaara, Temari and Kankuro with Sakura-chan, Fuzzy Brows, Super Fuzzy Brows Sensei, Tenten-chan, Neji, Sasuke-tem, and even Shizune-chan. He said all in one breath, jumping around happily, making the others sweat drop, apart from Guy, who did a pose saying, "That's the spirit." While Lee said, "Naruto-kun is burning with the flames of youth," doing the same pose of his sensei. Neji said, "Let's just start the mission, shall we?" Then the group heard loud laughter. And a low voice rang out. "Naruto, this is your lucky day. I, the legendary ninja of Konoha, shall accompany you on your mission." With a loud puff of smoke, a figure appeared in front of them. Slowly the smoke cleared, revealing Naruto. "This is your lucky day. I, the legendary ninja of Konoha, shall accompany you on your mission." With a loud puff of smoke, a figure appeared in front of them. Slowly the smoke cleared, revealing a white-haired ninja wearing some weird costume, standing on a large frog. Everybody apart from Naruto gasped when they saw the figure now standing in front of them. Tenten shouted, "Oh my god! Are you Jiraiya-sama of the legendary 3 of Konoha?" "In the flesh," the man replied, grinning. Every Chunin apart from Sakura and gathered around the figure looking at him with wide eyes, but Naruto said, "What are you doing here, Konohamaru, Moegi, Udon?" Everyone turned to him, but when no one answered his question, he pointed at Jiraiya, saying, "Konohamaru, Ero Sennin is taller than that. And you got his forehead protector wrong. Udon and Moegi, the frog you're impersonating is way fatter, and the necklace is purple, not pink." he accused. An arrow Senin would be ogling Tenten right away since she is so beautiful and cute. He added as an afterthought, making Tenten's face turn crimson at being called beautiful and cute. Jiraiya chuckled, and with a loud bang some fireworks exploded, consuming him. The smoke cleared, revealing Konohamaru, Udon and Moegi, who were coughing on all fours. They looked up at the others, and quickly stood up and began their opening speech. Prepare for trouble, Konohamaru, and make it triple, Udon and Moegi. To protect Konoha from devastation, Udon, and unite all shinobi with our nation, Moegi. To all girls with looks and love, Konohamaru, and create a utopia under the stars above, Moegi. Udon, Udon, Moegi, Moegi, Konohamaru, Konohamaru, Konohamaru. Core blast off at the speed of light. Udon, give in to us now or we'll bite. Bite, bite, Moegi. You got it. That's right, Konohamaru. All three did the nice guy pose, their forehead protectors shining in the sunlight, causing different reactions from others. Tenten said, so cute. Neji muttered something about being fated to meet idiotic people. Sakura and Shizune sweat dropped. Naruto said, hey, when did you change the speech? And lastly, Guy and Lee burst into tears, Guy saying, our comrades are so youthful. He said, hugging Lee. Sasuke didn't react at all. Guy-sensei. Lee shouted back, the scene turning into a green field with the sun rising slowly. Lee. Guy shouted back, ruining Konohamaru's pose because his hugging caused the third's grandson to start vomiting at the hideous scene. Udon knelt beside Konohamaru immediately shouting, someone please save him. While Moegi took out a large wooden rocket launcher and started shooting massive bombs. Think about DK's cannon in Donkey Kong 64, and the bombs are from The Legend of Zelda, in Guy and Lee's direction, screaming, stop. 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 Repeatedly until she ran out of ammunition. Guy and Lee had to dance around to avoid being hit and stopped when they heard the clicking sound, which meant no bombs left. They let out a breath of relief and Guy shouted, Lee. We survived the bombs of our youthful comrades. We are so youthful. Yes. We are so youthful, Guy-sensei. Lee shouted back, about to start hugging his sensei again, only to be knocked out by Moegi, who threw the wooden rocket launcher at him, which hit him on the head with a loud clunk. Lee. Guy shouted, what did you? His stopped mid-sentence due to the fact that Tenten had taken out the big pink hammer again and struck him hard on the head, knocking him out too, making him land on top of Lee. Phew. I thought I was going to die here, said Konohamaru, who had stopped vomiting at last with some help from Udon and Shizune. Naruto spoke up again. We should be leaving for the sand, you know, but our team leader and one of our teammates are knocked out. So what now? He asked. Konohamaru grinned, replying, that's why we're here. We heard from Hokage-sama that Jiraiya-sama would be accompanying you on your mission, so we wanted to impersonate him to go on the mission with you, boss. Right on cue, there was another loud puff of smoke. When it cleared, Jiraiya could be seen standing on a real toad, and he began his speech. Too stupid and long, so I didn't type it. Actually, I don't know the English version of the speech, so I can't really type it. Right after his speech, he dispelled his toad and walked up to Tenten, saying, hello miss, I would like you to be my model for my next novel because your rack and Yori's very say. Smack from Naruto. Jiraiya was pulled away from a blushing Tenten by Naruto. After inspecting the lump on his head with a mirror, he turned to Naruto, stating, so Naruto, I've heard that you have become very popular with the girls. Tenten and Shizune blushed at this, so I have decided to accompany you on your mission to teach you some tricks and skills that will be useful later on. Sasuke and Neji were jealous of Naruto for having a Sannin for a teacher, but Naruto was not happy, replying, what? The last time you told me about teaching skills and tricks, it was tying me to a pole and reading out your darn novel. I almost died from blood loss. It's not like you didn't read them afterwards. Yes, I know you read them. He said, answering Naruto's dumbfounded look. Those books are my best creation, so no doubt everyone here has read it. Everybody except Neji and Sasuke blushed furiously, who said in unison, "We are pure bloods, therefore don't read crappy porn novels." Then Draco Malfoy came out of nowhere and shouted at the pair of them, "You two are not pure bloods, you filth. Only the Malfoys are the purebloods and are superior to all other humans." After the author deleted him from the story, Naruto started mumbling about how blondes were being abused by authors and how he would contact SHIT. "Since when did you join SHIT?" said Jiraiya, frowning. Naruto grinned. "1 year ago," he replied, surprising everyone. "Remember the time we went to the sand before we came back, Arrow Sennin?" Jiraiya nodded. "When you were peeping at the bathhouse, me and Tamari were attacked by Itachi." Sasuke gasped. "And he stuffed us into a small broom cupboard after he took all our money from us." Everyone fell over and Itachi sneezed somewhere far away. "We had to struggle for 10 whole minutes before Kankuro finally found us and let us out. Didn't know why he tried to strangle me with his puppets though," he said, looking puzzled, thinking. Sakura cleared her throat and said, "Still doesn't explain how you joined SHIT." Naruto looked up. "Oh yeah, after Tamari told Kankuro something about we weren't doing something and I told him about Itachi, he let go of me and the next day Tamari gave me this form about SHIT, so I joined," he said. Shizune, who was looking puzzled, asked, "But why did Itachi push you and Tamari into a broom cupboard and not kill you? Isn't he after you or something?" Everybody apart from Jiraiya looked shocked and stared at Naruto, thinking why an S-ranked criminal would be after the idiotic blonde. Naruto looked even more puzzled than possible. "That's what's bothering me. He could have killed me or kidnapped me, but instead he stuffed me and Tamari into the broom cupboard shouting about April Fool or something." Everyone's sweat dropped. "It was very cramped inside and Tamari and I were squashed together, and then her towel slid off and—" "What towel?" asked the group immediately. "Oh yeah, we were at the hot springs and had just finished bathing and were in the changing rooms when Itachi attacked us." Where was I?" "Oh yeah, so her towel slid off," Jiraiya and Neji drooled. "And I closed my eyes so I wouldn't see her." Jiraiya and Neji slapped their foreheads hard, "but that made me couldn't get us out of there. Then Tamari saw a yellow mouse behind her and pushed herself into me even more." He blushed at the memory of her chest pushing hard against his as she tried to get away from the strange mouse. "Trying to get away from the mouse, and then I opened my eyes and saw the mouse turn into sand or something, and then Kankuro opened the door and we fell out, and then I was chased around by his puppets until Tamari covered herself up and said it was a misunderstanding." He finished, still thinking about Tamari's soft creamy skin. The others thought about what he said for a moment, and then Shizune voiced a question that was in everyone's, apart from Sasuke, dirty part of the mind. "Why were you in the same changing room as Tamari?" she asked, thinking about the possibilities. Naruto blushed again. "Well, the bathhouses in the sand are very expensive, so I asked Gaara to let me use the private hot springs at his place. There was one. Why didn't I get to go in?" asked Jiraiya, scowling. "Well, only Tamari uses it, so he told me to ask her instead, so I went to her and she said it was okay." "And you can't go in or you'll peek on Tamari," said Naruto. "Like you did, you mean?" accused Jiraiya. Everybody looked wide-eyed at Naruto. Naruto coughed, trying to hide his blush, and continued. "So we used the hot springs together and talked about things." Everyone stared at him, but he continued calmly. "I kept my back to her though, so I didn't see her," he said, thinking about why she would let him bathe with her in the first place. Oh my god. Naruto is actually thinking that much. What next? Sasuke's gay or something. Wait. I think I have an idea, grins evilly. Everyone in the group was also thinking about the same question. Jiraiya grinned, saying, "You must be a special kind of magnet, Naruto. Maybe even Tamari seems to like you now. My, the list sure is getting longer and longer." "What list?" said everybody, while far away a blonde girl with her hair tied in 4 ponytails sneezed, spraying her drawing with spit. "Sunagaker. No. My Naruto drawing is ruined." shouted Tamari, trying hopelessly to clean her picture, but hurriedly hid it when Gaara walked in. Are you okay? Asked Gaara, who had sat behind his desk next to his sister. Tamari nodded. Yeah, I'm okay, she replied. So why did you call me here earlier today? I'm supposed to go and meet the guys coming here, and I want to see Na. She covered her mouth, blushing at the fact that she let slip that little detail. Gaara smirked. Not that I will kill you now, look, but one that is an amused one, at least close to it. Naruto is still at the leaf, he said, making Tamari shout, what? Does that mean I stood out in the sun for 13 hours for nothing? Yep. Konoha sent a strange bird with a message saying they are still arguing about something at the north gate. I'm going to kill him when he arrives, she said, clenching her fists in fury. No, you can't, or you won't be able to have his kids in the future. Tamari, who was still mumbling about the 10,000 painful ways to kill Naruto, looked up, saying, what did you say? I said no, you can't kill Naruto or you won't be able to have his kids in the future. Tamari blushed pink, saying, why would I want to have Naruto's kids in the first place? Gaara took out a simple recorder. He pressed the play button and Tamari's voice rang out. ZZ, Naruto, ZZ, want, snort Naruto, babies. The mumbling went on and on for about 10 minutes before it stopped. By then Tamari was as red as a tomato. WWH, when did you record that? She stuttered like Hinata did when she was talking to Naruto. I don't sleep, so I needed something to do. You were mumbling something about Naruto, so I recorded it. I even recorded what happened on the day I fooled you and Naruto in Itachi's form. Tamari looked shocked. You mean it was you who attacked us while we were changing and stuffed us into that broom cupboard? Yes. I even provided a mouse to give you a nice excuse to get more skin-on-skin contact with Naruto, he said calmly. That made Tamari want to stick her head in the fridge to cool her face down. Here's a fridge, said Gaara, pulling a full-sized fridge from out of his gourd. Tamari immediately stuck her head inside the upper layer of the fridge and piled lots of ice around her. After a while Tamari emerged from the fridge and asked, what else did you record about me? She said suspiciously. Gaara took out a key and unlocked a safe he took out of his desk drawer. Let's see. He rifled through the mess inside. There's the one where you were singing about your love of Naruto in the kitchen. He put the tape on his desk. Tamari tried to destroy it at once but was blocked by Gaara's sand. This one here is the talk you two had in the hot springs. He put it on his desk too. This is another one about you and Naruto fighting about who is the better blonde, he smirked. He